Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Charlie stared at the powder blue chiffon dress dangling from the hanger in his sister's hand. Ruffles, lace, a sweetheart neckline. Not exactly his style. He swallowed hard. You want me to what? Be a bridesmaid! Lisa's eyes were tinged with desperation, her blonde hair already pinned back in rollers. Jenna got food poisoning last night. Please, Charlie, I need you. He opened his mouth to protest, but the manic look in his sister's eyes made him pause. It was her wedding day, after all, the day she'd been planning for over a year. Could he really say no? Fine, he sighed, grabbing the hanger. On his way to the bathroom, he called over his shoulder, But you owe me big time. 20 minutes later, Charlie stood in front of the full-length mirror, hardly recognizing himself. The bodice hugged his flat chest, the flouncy skirt swishing awkwardly against his hairy legs. He had to admit, the color did bring out his eyes. Shaking his head, he wobbled out of the bridal suite in too tight heels to join the other bridesmaids. A redhead in an identical dress squealed when she saw him. You must be Charlie! I'm Megan, Lisa's college roommate. She looked him up and down appraisingly. That dress fits you perfectly. It's like it was made for you. Thanks, Charlie mumbled, feeling his cheeks flush. He cleared his throat. So, what exactly do I need to do? As a bridesmaid, I mean. Well, the ceremony starts in an hour. First, we need to help Lisa get into her dress, then touch up our makeup. Photos are right after. Then we process in and stand at the altar. Oh, and don't forget to smile. Megan demonstrated a megawatt grin. Charlie tried to mimic it, feeling like his face might crack. Got it. Anything else? She tapped a glossy lip. Make sure Lisa has her something old, new, borrowed, and blue. Tissues in case she cries. And the rings. The best man will hand those off to you right before the vows. His head spun, trying to keep track of it all. He couldn't screw this up for Lisa. Okay, I can handle this. How hard can it be? Famous last words. Charlie spent the next hour running around like a blue-clad chicken with its head cut off. The zipper on Lisa's dress snagged, requiring an emergency sewing kit session. His mascara smudged, taking 3 makeup wipes to fix, and the less said about walking down the aisle in heels, the better. Now, Charlie stood at the altar, bouquet clutched in his sweaty hands as he watched Lisa and their dad process in. Even with all the chaos, he had to admit, she looked radiant. Glowing with happiness, her eyes locked on her grooms. The ceremony passed in a blur, Charlie's nerves easing as he got into the groove of things. Stand here, smile at the cameras, don't lock your knees, easy peasy. He even managed to hand the rings over without fumbling them. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Whoops and cheers erupted as Lisa and her new husband sealed their union with a kiss. The recessional music started up, and Charlie stepped forward to follow Megan back down the aisle. He made it 3 steps before disaster struck. His heel caught on the runner and he pitched forward with a startled yelp. In a dizzying moment of flailing lace and chiffon, he threw his arms out to catch himself and landed squarely in the best man's arms. Mortified, Charlie looked up into a pair of warm, amused brown eyes. The tux-clad man flashed a crooked grin as he set Charlie back on his feet. Smooth moves. I'm Connor, by the way. Charlie, he said faintly, face blazing. Thanks for the catch. Anytime. Connor winked, offering his elbow. Together, they made their way down the aisle to the swell of the wedding march. At the reception, Charlie collapsed into his seat gratefully, kicking his torturous shoes under the table. He pushed up the sleeves of his dress, already scanning for the closest waiter with a tray of cocktails. There you are, Megan appeared, looking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed despite their long day. Having fun? Charlie gave her a weary smile. Let's just say I have a whole new respect for everything you ladies do. He nabbed a glass of champagne from a passing tray, taking a hearty swig. Megan laughed. You did great! Quite the grand entrance at the end there. He groaned at the memory. Don't remind me. I'm just praying it didn't get caught on camera. I thought it was cute. Charlie whipped his head up to see Connor standing there, a twinkle in his eye. Mind if I sit? Be my guest. Charlie gestured grandly at the chair beside him, hoping he sounded smoother than he felt. His face still burned at the memory of practically swooning in the man's arms. Connor slid into the seat, long legs bumping Charlie's under the table. His brown hair was tousled like he'd been running his hands through it. Gotta say, you're a real trooper filling in like this. I've never seen a brother go so above and beyond. Charlie shrugged, picking at the lace edge of his sleeve. Lisa would have done the same for me, though I doubt she'd look half as ridiculous in a tux. Hard to look ridiculous when you're as pretty as you, Connor said casually, taking a sip of his drink. Charlie nearly choked on his champagne. He stared at Connor, trying to figure out if he'd heard him right. Thanks? Connor froze, glass halfway to his lips. 2 spots of color appeared on his cheeks. Wow, that sounded way less weird in my head. He cleared his throat. What I meant was, you look very nice. The dress suits you. Really? Charlie glanced down at himself skeptically. I feel like a kid playing dress-up. Lisa is way more the pretty girly type. Connor leaned closer, voice lowering conspiratorially. Can I let you in on a secret? You're outshining every other bridesmaid here, especially in the legs department. Charlie followed his gaze down to where his hairy calves disappeared beneath yards of ruffled chiffon. A laugh bubbled up in his throat. Stop. You're going to make me blush. Too late. Connor tapped his own cheek, grinning. It's a good look on you. Before Charlie could come up with a witty retort, the mellow sounds of a slow song started up. Lisa and her husband took to the dance floor, gazing adoringly at each other as they swayed. Connor stood, holding out a hand to Charlie. What do you say? You game to give your heels another workout? He hesitated only a second before allowing himself to be pulled up. Just to warn you, I'm an even worse dancer than I am a bridesmaid. You're in luck. I happen to be an excellent leader. Connor laced their fingers together, tugging him in the direction of the dance floor. As he stumbled along behind him, nearly tripping over his skirt, Charlie couldn't help but marvel at the turn the day had taken. Here he was, dolled up in a poofy dress, slow dancing with a handsome groomsman. Not exactly how he'd expected to spend his Saturday. But as Connor pulled him close, one hand resting warm on the small of his back, the other gently guiding him into a simple, swaying step, Charlie decided just maybe it wasn't so bad. He even managed to avoid stomping on any toes, staring down at their feet in concentration. You're doing great, Connor murmured, ducking his head to catch Charlie's eye. But you know, it's a lot easier if you let me lead. Right, okay. Charlie took a deep breath, forcing himself to look up. Connor was watching him, lips quirked in a soft smile. This close, he caught a hint of his woodsy cologne, made out the golden flecks in his warm brown eyes. Oh boy, he was in trouble. The song came to an end and they reluctantly stepped apart. Charlie was grateful for the layers of chiffon hiding his shaky knees. Thanks for the dance, and for not laughing at my awful form. Connor smirked. Oh, I was definitely laughing on the inside. But seriously, you did fine, Charlie. More than fine. The heated look he gave him made Charlie suddenly warm all over. Was it his imagination, or was Connor flirting with him? He mentally shook himself. No way, impossible. Connor thought he was just one of the girls, an awkward, cross-dressing fill-in bridesmaid. Time to set the record straight. Charlie opened his mouth, only to be interrupted by the arrival of the other bridesmaids, Lisa at the center of their cooing cluster. Charlie? She threw her arms around him in a cloud of tulle and perfume. Have I told you lately that you're the best brother ever? You could stand to mention it more, he joked, hugging her back. Lisa pulled away, holding him at arm's length and looking him over critically. Seriously, though, you've been such a rock star today. I know this whole bridesmaid thing wasn't exactly in your comfort zone. Her gaze slid over to Connor, noting their proximity with raised brows. I see you've met Connor. Isn't he great? I've been trying to set you two up for ages." Charlie goggled at her. Set them up? But Connor was straight. He had to be. Didn't he? "Okay, time for the bouquet toss," Megan chirped, grabbing Charlie's elbow and steering him away. "All the single ladies line up." Charlie allowed himself to be led into the giggling gaggle of women. His head was spinning. Was it possible Connor was actually interested in him? Like, as a man? He didn't have much time to ponder it as Lisa took her place at the front of the room, her back to the crowd. "Ready? 1, 2, 3?" The bouquet sailed through the air in a blur of white and green. Charlie watched it arc overhead as if in slow motion. All the girls around him shrieked and jumped, hands outstretched. He stuck out a hand just in time for the flowers to smack directly into his palm. More out of reflex than anything, his fingers closed around the stems. A huge cheer went up, and suddenly he was being hugged and backslapped from all sides. He looked up, dazed, meeting Connor's eye across the crowd. The other man was grinning from ear to ear, giving him a subtle thumbs up. He was mouthing something Charlie couldn't quite make out over the noise. It almost looked like, "My hero." The bouquet felt suddenly heavy in Charlie's hand. Was he really going to do this? Throw caution to the wind and take a chance? Oh, hell. You only live once, right? He pushed his way out of the throng of squealing women. Holding the flowers in front of him like a shield, he marched straight up to Connor, heart pounding in his ears. "Hey, so, I'm not sure if you figured this out yet, but I'm actually a dude." Connor laughed, shaking his head. Yeah, I know. I've met you before, remember? At Lisa's engagement party." Charlie blinked. He cast his mind back, vaguely recalling meeting a cute friend of Lisa's fiancé that night. But he'd been in a suit then, not a poofy blue monstrosity. "That was you?" "The one and only." Connor stepped closer, taking the bouquet from Charlie's hands and setting it aside. "Did you think I was hitting on you this whole time, thinking you were a girl?" "Kind of." It sounded stupid now that he said it out loud. "I mean, I am wearing a dress. A fact I'm very much aware of and enjoying, by the way." Connor skimmed a hand down the side of Charlie's waist, making him shiver. "But I've been into you since that first time we met. The dress is just a bonus." Charlie couldn't believe what he was hearing. All this time, he'd just assumed. "So, what happens now?" In answer, Connor cupped his face in his hands and kissed him, soft and sweet. Charlie made a surprised noise against his mouth before melting into it, hands coming up to grip the lapels of Connor's tux. Wolf whistles and cheers faded into the background as they got lost in each other. In that moment, nothing existed except the two of them, Connor's lips on his, the rapid thump of his heart. They finally broke apart, foreheads resting together as they caught their breath. Charlie suddenly realized they had an audience. He looked around, catching Lisa giving him an exaggerated thumbs up next to her laughing husband. Charlie grinned back at his sister, feeling giddy and lightheaded. He turned to Connor, who was watching him with a soft smile. "So, I guess this means you'll be needing my number." Connor laughed, slipping his arms around Charlie's waist and tugging him close. "I thought you'd never ask." They exchanged phones, typing in their contact info. Charlie bit his lip, hesitating before hitting save. "Just to be clear, I don't normally make a habit of kissing strange men at weddings, or wearing dresses." "Too bad, it's a good look on you." Connor's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Don't worry, I don't make a habit of kissing cute boys in bridesmaid dresses either. I think we can make an exception for each other, though." Charlie ducked his head, feeling his cheeks heat. It was surreal, flirting with this gorgeous man while dolled up like a reject from a beauty pageant. But also strangely thrilling. The music changed, an upbeat pop song pulsing through the speakers. Connor perked up. "Hey, I love this song. Wanna dance?" He grabbed Charlie's hand without waiting for an answer, pulling him onto the dance floor. Charlie stumbled after him, laugh escaping as he tried not to trip on his skirts. They joined the crush of bodies moving to the beat. Charlie felt awkward and uncoordinated next to Connor's easy rhythm, but the other man just grinned and moved closer, guiding Charlie's hips with his hands. He let himself relax into it, focusing on the warmth of Connor's touch, the thrum of the bass in his bones, the raw energy of the crowd around them. Maybe there was something to this whole dancing in a dress thing. The song ended and they made their way off the floor, breathless and grinning. Charlie snagged them some water, gulping it down gratefully. "Having fun?" Connor asked, slinging an arm around his shoulders. Charlie leaned into him, too happy to feel self-conscious. "I really am. This might be the most fun I've ever had at a wedding, actually. Don't tell Lisa. Your secret's safe with me." Connor pressed a quick kiss to his cheek. "I'm really glad you caught that bouquet." "Me too." Charlie laced their fingers together. "Is it crazy that this all feels kind of meant to be? I mean, what are the odds of me filling in as bridesmaid and then literally falling into your arms?" Connor gave his hand a squeeze. "I don't think it's crazy. I think the universe has a funny way of giving us just what we need sometimes, even if what we need is a pretty boy or girl in a poofy dress." Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.